Great time, feed the mind, feed the mind. While you walk the dogs is a great time to feed your mind. Now, if you're lazy, you can walk the dogs like this as long as you got your personal development on. Really lazy, make the damn dog drive itself. You sit in the passenger seat, make sure you're feeding your mind. Brian Tracy also taught me this E to E ratio. What separates the 5% who are wealthy and the 95% who are not. The 95% spend their spare time on entertainment. The 5% spend the majority of their spare time on education. This is the great divide between the haves and the have-nots. How are you spending your spare time? Now, I'm not saying you don't ever have any entertainment. Of course not. Everything in moderation. But this is the average consumption. 8 hours a day is spent on entertainment. It doesn't always have to be television. Facebook and all that other social crap that's unpurposeful is also entertainment. Chit-chats in the hallway, gaming, all the other stuff. It's entertainment. It's fine. Entertainment's okay, but in small doses. Certainly not a third of your life every single day. Half your life, if you consider 1/3, is at sleep. Don't do that. So, curious, here we are in a high-minded room, but just be honest. How much personal development training are you doing each and every day, consistently without fail? A rounding error of 0. Anybody at 0? That would be not the right room. Less than 20 minutes? Okay. 20 to 60 minutes? Fair enough. Good. Thank you for being honest. More than an hour? Okay. Wow. Just definitely a different room than you normally are talking to. I'll tell you that. So, fantastic for you. Obviously. Fantastic for you. So let's talk about developing your skills. Here, just give you my personal plan, okay? I'm trying to give you some framework and some context about the systems I use. One of the things I see as an epidemic within our learning process is that we're learning a lot all the time. We're constantly feeding ourselves, new information, but we study very little. We're always looking for the next new information, but we don't stop to take the information we learn and then to go deep with it, to create study. So I want to give you my 1-1-5-3-1-30-35 plan. It's kind of catchy, huh? I was listening to Brennan yesterday. He said you have to have a sequence. Well, that's my sequence. So let me show you the sequence. Number 1 is take your number 1 goal, whatever your number 1 goal is. Okay? What is the one skill that is going to determine the most to you accomplishing that goal? So let's say in the expert space, it might be learning how to write really great, or it could be learning how to present, or it could be learning internet marketing. Whatever what you think the most important skill is to accomplishing your goal, identify it. And then next, take 5 books on the topic and go immediately to Amazon and order them. This is what I do. I pick the skill, buy 5 books, go buy 3 DVD or CD programs, and then pick 1 seminar and go to it on that skill. One time for me, it was relationships. My number 1 goal was creating more intimacy in my marriage. So I bought the top 5 books, I bought the top 3 CD and DVD programs, and I went to a seminar. And then this is how you consume it. It's a lot easier than you think. It's my 30-30 plan. In the morning, when I first get up, first thing I do, put my iPhone on 30 minutes, and I just read for 30 minutes. I'm going to get through those 5 books over a period of a month or 2. And then I listen to the instructional audio for 30 minutes each day while I'm driving around, working out, or walking the dogs. That's it. That's my personal development plan. The reason why you create extraordinary results is the consistency of that small discipline compounded over time. Oh, I got a chance to weave that in. That's it. Simple as that. And then this is the 5-step study program that I go through. As I'm going through that material, I'm studying that material, focusing on that one skill. Then I'm extracting the 3 best ideas. It could be a 300-page book, but I'm only looking for 3 ideas, because if there are 100 ideas, there are no ideas. So just get 3. You can put it back on the shelf, and you go back to it 4 months from now and get another 3, but just isolate it to 3. See, again, we're so overwhelmed with so much that we pay attention to so little. So you got to will it down to the little. Number 3 is act. I implement 1 idea right now, this week. As soon as I get the idea, right now, this week, and I practice it. And then I measure the improvement over a period of 30 days. And then I do this plan, do, review, where I review it, I adjust, and I do it again. And then I review it, and I adjust, and I do it again until I've mastered the 3 skills of each of those 5 books, those 3 CD programs, and that 1 seminar. And at the end of 90 days, your skill development and that 1 skill that's most important to your 1 goal is unbelievable. People don't do that. They come to seminars, they collect notes, they put the notes in a drawer, and they think that they're empowered. You're not empowered until you've created an implementation and an integration program that you're constantly reviewing and adjusting and reiterating on. By the way, I see a lot of you writing furiously. I get asked this all the time. There's 120 some odd slides here. If you want to just get this entire slide deck, all you have to do is text your name and email address to that phone number. And it will send you the instructions to download the whole slide deck. Is that helpful? Yes. Okay, I know I see a lot of you writing feverishly down. I want you to actually listen for the key ideas and know that you already have the notes that you see on the slides. And if you haven't written it down fast enough, it's there in the corner as we go through this. All right, 3rd question is, how do I develop my brand? Talk to you about brand development. So let me ask you a question. If you had the option where a genie popped out of a lantern and he or she gave you the ability to pick one of these 4 things to be the best in your space at, the very best, which 4 would you pick? Either the best management and leadership, the best margins in your space, the best marketing in your space, or the best product and solution in your space. If you had a chance to pick any one of these 4 to be the very best, which would you pick? How many people would pick management and leadership? Okay, there's no wrong answers here, by the way. How many people would pick margins? Not many CPAs in the room. How many people pick marketing? Okay, how many people would pick the best product and solution? Okay, maybe it was a little bit of a setup. So let's say you pick the number 1 product and solution. Let me just sort of debunk that a little bit. What is the number 1 restaurant in the world? McDonald's. Do they have the best product? What is the number 1 wine in the world? You're right out of Napa Valley of all these fantastic heritage of winemaking and all the rest of that. What's number 1? Gallo? It's worse. Franzia. And it comes in a box. What's the number 1 water? We have all these, Fujis and, you've got Avions, you've got Smart Waters and all these. What's the number 1 water? Aquafina, Dasani, and Polar Springs, owned by Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and Nestle. Number 1 waters in the world. Point is, it doesn't have to be the best product or solution to be number 1. So, those of you that said management, let's unearth that a little bit. These people had the best talent available in their organizations. Enron, McKinsey and Company, Ocean's 12, A-list of actors, totally failed. And then the 2004 United States Olympic basketball team. First time, star-studded NBA stars on one team. Do you remember what happened? They came in 3rd. They got beat by Lithuania. Not Dream Team managements. How about margins? Certainly all the CPAs and CFOs would say, I want the biggest margins because with margins you could do everything. Hey, look, if the product doesn't sell, it doesn't matter what the margins are. So here's the reality. Like it or not, I don't like it. But here's the reality. I'd rather say the best product and solution, truly. But that's just not how it works. And you just need to know what the reality is so that you can know how to work with it. Success of any product, service, or solution is 10% the quality of the product. 90% marketing. That's why McDonald's, Franzia, Polar Springs, and the rest. It's a good thing for all of us that Steve Wozniak understood this. There's an interesting story out of Walter Isaacson's new book called Steve Jobs, that there was early in the very beginning process, Steve Wozniak developed the original technology that ended up becoming the basis of the Apple I. And there's a recount of a story between Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Steve Wozniak's father, who was a rocket scientist who had no regard for marketing or anybody that wasn't an engineer. And the story is that Jerry, Wozniak's father, told Steve, you don't deserve 50% of this budding enterprise. You didn't create anything. It should be all Steve Wozniak's. And the story says Steve, who was still a teenager, started to cry and relented and said, I'll just walk away and let Steve Wozniak run the company. But Woz, as he became known, said, no. He was smart enough to realize that he needed Steve Jobs' entrepreneurial drive and marketing mind. And so even at the insistence of his father, they stayed together as a team. So now, I got a chance to spend some time with Steve. We had him on the cover of Success in June of 2010. And over the past few months, we have an issue coming out in February that is focused on marketing. So I wanted to decode of everything that Apple has done over the last couple of decades. What are the half dozen genius points that created the marketing magic of Apple and Steve Jobs? And so after all this, several month research project, I boiled it down to a half dozen. Do you want to know what those are? Yes. These would be masterful in developing your own brand as well. So these are the half dozen fundamentals. By the way, this audio, I'll give you the whole audio, whether you subscribe to Success Magazine or not, because it has this whole introduction in it. And then I interview Seth Godin, who's amazing on it, and John Maxwell's on the same CD in the magazine as well. If you text in, I'll just send you the whole digital file of that CD, because I think this group, trying to develop your expert, how to develop a brand, would be great for you. And it'll be on newsstands in February 2009, but I think it's finished, so I can get it to you in the next couple of weeks. So here's number one, unrelenting focus. The story is that when Steve Jobs was kicked out of his own company in 1985, he came back in 1997. And the one thing that he did was declutter the company. He eliminated 70% of everything they were making inside of Apple and boiled it down to only 4 products. They were involved in all sorts of niche, crazy industries. The Mac, in fact, had several dozen iterations because each retailer wanted it configured in a special way. Steve eliminated all of that. You get one Mac. That's it. 4 products. What that did is it freed up all of this frenzy hysteria so that they could spend time on innovation and quality because they were focused on 4. 1997, when he first came back to Apple, they lost $1.2 billion. The next year, the only strategy employed was focus. They made $309 million in profit. One of the most incredible turnarounds of any company in history. They went from 90 days from being insolvent to being the most valued brand in the world. And they focused the credit to focus. This is, when I asked Steve Jobs in the interview, I said, what are you most proud of what Apple has built and what you have built? And his answer was, I am as proud of what we don't do as I am of what we do. And in the book, he expands further. This is a direct quote from the book. He says, deciding what not to do, particularly with entrepreneurs who have an idea a minute, is as important as deciding what to do. It's true for companies and it's true for products. Consider that in your own product development, in your own solutions, in your own business. This is a conversation by one of my colleagues, the editor of Fast Company, was having with the new CEO of Nike, Mark Parker, and he relates a conversation that he had with Steve Jobs when he asked for some advice about how to be a CEO at Nike. I want to play you this quick little interview.
You mentioned last night when we were having dinner that when you first got the job as CEO, you got a call from Steve Jobs and he offered you some advice.
Well, he didn't call to offer me advice, but we had worked together on a Nike-Apple collaboration called Nike Plus. So we took what Apple knows, what Nike knows, and brought a new technology to the market. Anyway, long story short, he said, "Hey, congratulations! It's great. You're going to do a great job." I said, "Well, do you have any advice?" And he said, "No, you're great." And then there was a pause, and he goes, well, I do have some advice. He goes, Nike makes some of the best product in the world. I mean, product that you lust after, absolutely beautiful, stunning product. But you also make a lot of crap. He said, just get rid of the crappy stuff and focus on the good stuff. And then I expected a little pause and a laugh, but there was a pause but no laugh at the end. Yeah. And he was absolutely right. And in fact, that's one of my major focal points in terms of my priorities as a CEO and even as a designer when I was growing up at the company, is to edit. I mean, we have so many ideas. Nike is an idea factory.
So I ask you the same question. What crappy stuff do you need to stop doing so that you can focus on the good stuff? When I asked Warren Buffett his key to success, his answer was, for every 100 opportunities that I am presented with, I say no 99 times. This is one of the richest men in the world. That's his key to success, saying no. It's a clue. Here's number 2 to the decoding of the Apple Jobsian marketing magic. Don't sell products. Apple does not sell products. They sell an identity. They sell an image. They sell status. They sell membership. They sell a community. They sell access into a tribe of cool. You know, remember the 1984 commercial? They didn't talk about a product. They didn't talk about features. They talked about a revolution. They asked us all to think differently. That was the message they were selling. They weren't selling computers. They weren't selling listening devices. They were selling a culture, a revolution, and an identity. They wanted every time that you saw somebody holding a phone to their ear and it had the Apple logo on it, you were identified as cool. The white earbuds, one of the first innovations to identify the tribe. If you got the white earbuds because everything was black before then, that meant you had an iPod in your pocket. And that made you part of the tribe. That made you cool. They even did very direct advertisements about, do you want to be the fat, stodgy guy, or do you want to be the cool guy? It was an identity. They even, you can't read that, described exactly how an Apple cool person dresses. Identified it in an ad. They're selling an identity. They're selling a culture. They're selling a status, not selling computers and listening devices. In fact, when you have your Apple computer, when you close the lid, the Apple's upside down. Why is it upside down? So that when it's up, it's showing the rest of the world your Apple. And it's glowing. And that ends up becoming your status symbol to the world because you're in front of an Apple. And Apple is getting free advertising by your wanting to show cool. So what are you selling? Are you selling a book? Are you selling a CD or a DVD? Are you selling a seminar? Or are you selling an identity, a status, access into an exclusive tribe or a tribe of people identified by this feature and function? Very serious question for you to consider. I write it down as a question and then go and think about it for several weeks. What is it that you're selling? What's the identity? What's the status? What's the image? Speak to that. Number 3 thing they did, launch events. I know that Jeff thinks that he created the product launch formula, but trust me, Apple and Steve Jobs perfected and initiated the perfect product launch formula. Let me just give you a couple of decoding factors about what it is that they do to launch products. The first thing is it starts way before the product ever launches. They create this incredible rumor mill. that you don't think they're involved in, and they're mad. Oh, our patents got revealed, or, this person's talking about it. Oh, no, they're feeding that. They're seeding that. What they're doing is they're creating a pent-up desire, curiosity, the need to know. They're feeding that rumor mill. Then they have the big bang event. Most technology companies would go to the big computer show and launch their products. Apple said, no, we're doing our own events called Macworld, even to compete against some of those. And that's where we will launch our new products. And they became a sensational hit. And of course, they had the grandmaster of them all who did the product demonstration and perfected the product demo, the product launch announcement. And if you want to decode that, a good book I recommend is from Carmine Gallo, How to Give Insanely Great Presentations Like Steve Jobs. Excellent book for those that do presentations. So that's another element. And then here's what they did, is they sync the rest of their internal systems to combust exactly at the same time. So when they launch a new product, their website homepage is nothing but the introduction of that product. And then they have pages all set up to explain that product so that they are controlling the message. They're controlling the education behind what their product is. And that hits the moment they say, Steve announces it on stage, the websites turn, and there's a front page, and then there's education pages to properly educate the marketplace about what it really is. Interesting point. Then they flip over their stores exactly at the same time. When it's announced, all the frontage of their stores changes over simultaneously. This is all internal launching. And then at the same time, the external launch hits like a bang. And they come out and you see some amazingly creative outdoor external marketing that launches exactly at the same time. So ask yourself for your business, what is your shock and awe launch plan? What are all the components? It's important to pay attention to all the components, internally and externally, and that it's coordinated to all hit at the same time, so that people, when they first hear it, they don't just hear it one place. All of a sudden they see it and hear it and see it and hear it all at once. And that external and internal validation says, I've got to get in on what this thing is all about. And they line up at the stores. Here's number 4. A very simple and memorable message. There's so much mastery in this, and it would take 3-day workshops just to talk about how they're able to deuce down the technical majesty that they created their products, but then it just gets boiled down to a single sentence. And then that single sentence is so crisp that the media repeats their marketing message. So 1,000 songs in your pocket, or there's an app for that, or the computer for the rest of us. Even though there's all sorts of amazing features, they just restrict themselves to a single sentence. Very, very important when you consider your own message. So what is your hook? Work on this. This is more important than all the features of your product. That one sentence that describes it. That is the hook that makes it memorable and simple as a brand description. Here's number 5. Go one step further. Whenever you think you've got a great product and a great service, go one step further. And that's what Apple always did with their packaging. You already bought the product. They don't need to spend a bunch of money on packaging. But why do they do it? Because when you get it, it looks like a museum piece. You want to keep the packaging. And you put it on your shelf because it's beautiful. When do you keep packaging? Only Apple's, because it's beautiful. What does that do? It makes an indelible impression. It's one step further. And I'll talk about in the next point, they believe that the customer relationship starts after you buy, not before you buy. And so they go one step further, and they put in this little fingertips thing. They spend money on things they shouldn't spend money on. I mean, the CFOs would not allow them to spend money on these things, but they do it because it's one step further. That's why we all love them, because we're constantly delighted and surprised. Where can you put delight and surprise going one step further in your process? Here's number 6. They create a great service impression. One of the things that I learned from Apple's and Steve's philosophy is you don't have to have the best customer service. It's a key point, because it's really expensive and very exhausting to have the best customer service. But you can have the best service impression. Here's the difference. Consistency of every impression. You walk into the store, they're all wearing the same shirts. The products all look the same. The packaging all looks the same. The website looks the same. The communications come out of the company. There's a consistency of the impression. The whole universe is very harmonious and consistent. What I don't see in a lot of businesses is that consistency. So ask yourself the question and do this. Chart out every impression that you have with the outside world. Emails, websites, announcements, packaging slips. I mean, just go through the list. Chart out every single thing the world ever sees about you and make sure that it's consistent so that when they enter your universe, there's comfort. Number 2, innovate, and this is what they did brilliantly. Innovate to turn every customer disappointment into a wow. So every time a customer is disappointed in Apple, that is when they ignite trying to do something of wow. Because that's what makes the biggest impression. Not the best service, the best impression. So you turn a disappointment, that's when you go into wow. And then they're constantly working on themselves to say, what are the half dozen most pain points in our process? Where do we get the most problems or the most complaints? And then they innovate to try to fix those. And they innovate it with doing something of wow right at those points. And so your experience, even though it might not be perfect, they end up doing 1 or 2 things that you go, wow. And now they've got you. Your impression of their service has been captured. Brilliant. So chart out your most common pain points and make a moment of wow. Oh, here's one we did. Which picture does this guy look better in? The one on the right? That's what we thought. So we photoshopped the one on the left. He got all pissed off. David Hansen, he wrote Rework, got all mad and angry, blogged about it and all the rest of that. So we admittedly went up and tried to make a moment of disappointment, and we made it a moment of wow. We admitted our mistakes. We printed it in the publication. Then he came back and goes, wow, I thought you guys were going to get angry and mad. And it's like, that's really cool that the way you guys handled that. So figure out all the times when something happens that's negative and turn it into a positive. All right, other tidbits of advice, which I really do not have. So let me move. Oh, this is the one I get asked all the time. How do I get in success? Or what's my advice? You're not going to necessarily like it, but I just need to give you the answer because we got to remember, expert in my world is a little different than the world at large, okay? Because one of our brand promises at success is that we will curate, we will vet out only the best of the best, la creme of la creme, and then we will decode what they do to have gotten to that status. Success is not where you end up on the way up. Success is where you end up when you have arrived. It's just a standard of editorial that we're focused on. And so my advice always to anybody in the expert space is to do this. Become an expert before espousing expertise. I know that Brendan will teach you can research, you can synthesize, and that's a different level of advice, expertise, than the kind of profiling we're doing in success. Okay, so granted, there's a difference. But I always say, go do something extraordinary that other people want to do, but you do it extraordinary, like way above the radar, and then come back and tell us how you did it. That's it. That's the best way. Go do something extraordinary that other people want to do and then come back and tell us how you did it, because that's what people want to know. Okay, so I'm going to skip through these and just hit the last point. This is a content monetization wheel. You'll get a lot of that from a lot of these guys too, and you'll get it on the slides, but take one piece of content and then remonetize it in a variety of different ways. These are the spindles on the wheel, and then how to create a customer ascension funnel. And, obviously, don't have a product, don't have a book or a talk. Create a movement. What's your movement? What are you enrolling people into? What is it what's the tribe that they get access to? What's the cause, the mission, the vision of your purpose, your stated purpose? And it's not talent. A lot of these top thought leaders, authors, speakers, it's not their talent. I promise you, I get a chance to interview them all. It's not their talent. Now, they might be talented, but I promise you that talent was developed over excruciating hard work. Michael Jordan said, anybody can have talent, but you have to develop ability, and it's ability that counts. And then learn to love failure, because you're going to fail. and you want to fail because it's the muscles you're developing to do the superhuman, to do the extraordinary. It's that muscle that's going to get you to become extraordinary above the radar of everybody else. I was at the Dallas Mavericks game in a box, and Michael Jordan was there, and I asked him what his key to success was. And I asked that question to most everybody. And this was part of his answer. Let me show you how, let me give you his answer in this short little video.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
Realize that championship victories are won through failure. Your expertise, your great success, your incredible victory is only going to be through a minefield of failures. Don't just embrace it, delight in it. Know that every single one of them is a workout that you have just developed greater muscles with. Here's one of the greatest failures in the world. Richard Branson. We talked about it last night. Virgin Cola, Virgin Vodka, Virgin Cosmetics, Virgin Cinemas, Virgin Cars, all great catastrophe failures. Public flameouts. But yet this is his motto: screw it, let's do it. If you fall flat on your face, pick yourself up and try again. That's why the guy's worth $4 billion and has 400 companies. And then, as Eleanor Roosevelt said, do something every day that scares you. And the last ingredient that I see in a lot of incredible thought leaders and experts in the space, this is the last attribute I want to give you. It's this unconquerable, unshakable sense of resolve. And so as you leave here on Sunday and you go back to your families and your communities and your neighborhoods, I want you to see whatever this goal of yours is, whatever mission, cause, or area of expertise that you want to own, as we've talked about, as your mountain in life. And you're going to start climbing this mountain. And there are going to be people that come up to you, maybe well-intended people who you think love you, who are going to say, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? You're no expert. You got a good job. It's safe and secure. You should just get off that damn mountain and be happy that you have a job. And you're going to have to look them in the eye and say, I'm going to the top. And you're going to climb up a little further, and there are going to be some other friends or colleagues or peers or people on Facebook that are like, you, an expert? You're going to make some contacts with some PR people like, no, we're not interested. And you're going to have to look them in the eye and say, I'm going to the top. And you're going to climb up a little further. And you're going to have some embarrassing moments on stage. And you're going to write some things that are going to get rejected. You're going to make proposals to publishers. They're going to say that you're not worthy. And you're going to have to look them in the eye and say, this is my mountain. You're either going to see me waving from the top or laying dead on the side. I am not coming back. And when you have that sense of resolve, nothing can stop you. I look forward to seeing all of you waving from the top. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.